Well, hello everyone. It's like you're here to show you that the wish star points to is like coloring is if most of us have seen from the first coloring that I went activity that I went ahead and did. Of course, this is a different one right here. This one right here is I went ahead and drew is like say photos. Of course, as a house, and then of course is like it could be a house that more likely that I may want to live in. Like maybe in the future it is, but talking about is like that if most of us remember that left off by knowing about it's like the different shapes you say of the stars it is, and I went ahead and drew a picture right there. Of course, is the star, and then of course be working with like you got the go ahead use like what you call as like a light green and then a light orange color go ahead and color in a little bit of the stars and a lot of times at the time, it just seems like a lot of times that talk about it as like a story. It's like knowing about. It's like exactly. Whenever you blow out the candles on a birthday cake, that a lot of times, or it could be a anniversary, whatever it is that knowing about. It's like if you made a wish or not. And I remember my parents used to always think about. It's like, did you make a wish? Like, well, I'm a little bit too old for that. But other than that, knowing about it's like that really. That no matter if you're 50 or 60, 65, whatever, that more likely you could probably think about that you're not too old to make a wish. But on the other hand, too, that knowing about is that really that when should you go ahead and tell people about what you wish for. But on the other hand, too, that knowing about that the story from what I was talking about from the previous is talking about right here. This will be like what you call memory from I remember from the house I used to live in, and of course right here is the moon and then the stars, and the stars with knowing about it's like to pick out one a star that I can go ahead and draw it here. I go ahead and use it's like what you call a blue, but go ahead and draw it right up above here above the eye right here. See if that would be like what you call as a wish star right there. With that right there, and you got the wish star at about right here it is, and just knowing about that I would see something like that in the sky. It is. It's it would be like what you call it's like all real light, highlighted. It's like in say in the up there in the sky. It is. So you highlight that, and then go ahead and use a little bit of see what color is this. This will be just blue. I guess not Oceanica, say West Springs, blue or anything like that, just blue. But anyway, go ahead and color this in with the blue right here. Most of us knowing about it's like that with wish stars, it's like knowing about that there's probably several thousands of stars. You say so far as all in the universe it is, and just knowing about which one will be as the wish star it is. But on the other hand too, that knowing about with that, the answer, the best question, the best answer I have for that type of question is knowing about like which one will be the wish star. More likely, maybe would be is like whichever one appears most interesting. It's like knowing about that you see a star right there, see a star right here. See a star right here, and then you see one over here, and then you see one over here, and then you see one over here, and then you see one further over here, and then one right here, and then one that's a little bit closer, about right here. But other than that, knowing about it, there are quite a few of them look all close together, but then they could be at a distance also. And we probably thinking about that whichever one that looks like at the most location it is in the sky it is, and just knowing about it. If you pick one, and of course it's just knowing about it, it's like keep that location is. If I were to look at the skies at like now and just knowing about the fact about that, have you gotten everything that you wish for yet? I'm like, well, I think I wish for a big screen TV, and of course, gotten something like that, and of course, maybe a game or a camcorder or anything like that. But on the other hand, too, that knowing about that, I guess maybe the truth of the matter is that knowing about maybe I wish for a better education. It is, but on the other hand, too, is knowing about that. Hey, if you can at least read and write, you say, a topic about what you want to write about. It's like knowing about with me, a lot of people probably think about, it's like, really, do I wish that to write a book one of these days, maybe a bestseller, or if it's a magazine or anything like that, and just knowing about, maybe I may mention, I think I mentioned quite a few times that I really don't know who would all want to read it, but on the other hand too, that knowing about that, yeah, that knowing about that, hey, you know, you know, I'm sure anybody will maybe want to read about the fact about that, that yeah, it's like, you know, if I were to write, you know, today's date, it's like today's date. And people will probably think about, can you explain to yourself, how do you learn how to write that small, because I can barely read it. You know, I can barely read it, and just knowing about, you know, people used to always give me a hard time about it, is knowing about that whenever I was in school, I think it was, and just knowing about if I were to do like what you call it, it's like assignments, homework assignments, a lot of times if I were to be writing something, it is about a topic, it was, you know, back, say if I were to say something like, you know, back 22 months ago, yeah, what? Like, well, 22 months ago, it's like, you know, I only had $15 to work with. I'll just say that, yeah, go ahead and use that $15. See, to work with. And in a lot of ways, a lot of the tests that it's like if I were to be testing on some of the stuff here, a lot of the tests that I'll be given and knowing about is like that, yeah, that I'll be, you know, be write small, and just knowing about if I'm in a big hurry that I may write a few things, and just knowing about, hey, you know, I can't even read that. You know, can you repeat it? Like, can you read that off for me? But other than that, knowing about, it's like, yeah, right here's the house, and of course it could be, it's like my dream home, it is, but knowing about it, it's like, yeah, that I would probably think about with my dream home, and maybe I would like to have, like, what you call is like, let's say a fountain about right there. It is. Go ahead and draw, like, you know, it ain't that fountain, but anyway, people probably think about that. Yeah, one of the reasons why I didn't, you know, have it all colored in green yet, would just know is like maybe add some details to it. But other than that, is knowing about it, you have right here is like what you kind of the fountain look right there, and of course maybe just a little bit. See a grass, so go ahead and, you know, draw just a little bit grass detail about, you know, about right in here. It's like if it was maybe about the springtime it is. If, you know, be doing this type of assignment maybe in school it is, and people like that talking about, it's like, well, what's that supposed to be? It is, well, you know, so how, and I've seen people the way they draw houses before. It's like you got right here is the trees, and some people would, you know, have their own ways of how they want to draw trees, but on your hand too, that knowing about with me is like, is that to go ahead and start out with, like we say, scribble, and then go ahead and make the one part, you know, darker than the other, and then of course make that the center dark. Alright, now you got right there is a tree, but just knowing about with the wish star right here, people would probably think about, it's like you pick a particular one, and with any type of a wish star it's like you pick one that you maybe give it a name, and then knowing about with me, I used to look back in the patio door and knowing about the fact about, yeah, that with the wish star it is, and just knowing about where I was, like, what I wanted. And then I remember that I had found a turtle. It was real turtle. Just knowing about, I used to find frogs around. It's like, you know, in the front yard it was. I remember that at the house I used to live in, you know, it's like it was right up above on the gutter, right, you know, near the gutter right there. That apparently that there was some turtles right there that you came out of there, and just knowing about, you know, wanting to have, say, one of those pet, you know, turtles. I remember, yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They were one of my favorite cartoons. But just knowing about it's like with the pet turtle, and then knowing about the type of turtle right here, it is. It's like you kind of like, you know, with the, you know, say that just like in real life it is, you know, type turtle it is. We could probably think about it. It's like we say, it's like, you know, what did you wish for? Actually, I wish for a garden cricket or anything like that, or, you know, I wish for a garden plant, anything that you could plant, say, in the garden area. Go ahead and, you know, add just a little bit of details right here for the backyard. But knowing about that, if you were to actually draw as a star, and people probably think about it, it's like, hey, it's like just star, like, and yeah, well, if there's any different designs for what you can draw for a star, I went and drew that kind of like that, and then maybe like you say a rectangular type, say star. It is knowing about that. Yeah, that just like you do dots, from dot to dots that connect, and of course as I draw, like we say, a speedon, type design right here for a star. A speedon, which means is that I guess you say kind of like something I went ahead and made up. But anyway, people probably think about that. Yeah. If you're going to do any coloring activity, Mr. McGuire, like I'm talking about, is like in school. Is talking about is like, yeah, do any type of color activity. We ought to know that, if you're gonna make something up, then don't mention it to the class. We want something that's specific. It is. But on the other hand, too, knowing about anything specific, it's like talking about anything creative. It is. But on the other hand, too, knowing about, it's like, if you want to sit in class and just hear wah 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 wah, or if you want to go ahead and hear, it's like, well, this is what I came up with. This is supposed to be, it's like, say a shape octagon, and of course, that arranged is like, for a star. It is. And then of course, if I want to add some details right here, it's like you got right here is for blue. It is. Say star, say for star blue. It is. People are thinking, what? That's supposed to be a star. It is. So you can go ahead and draw a little bit of the sky. But other than that, knowing about it's like you got right there is the star detail right there. And then from there, see here, go ahead and maybe add a little bit about, other than that, and it's like go ahead and add a little bit. You got that, kind of like the star example about right there, and then of course you have the star right there. But other than that, knowing about it is like the types of wish stars, with the different shapes and sizes, and we could probably think about it's like with the different shapes and sizes, just knowing about that. Added just a little bit of detail right here. It's like you got right here is the rotating part of, say, of the star. It is. And then of course it could be like what you call like an eyeball, like it come out. But other than that, you have see the stars, and then a few stars right down here underneath. It is. Some teachers may think about that if you were to be doing any type of activity, it's like at the school. It is, and just knowing about that talks about the types of stars that you more likely see, say, in the sky. It is. And just knowing about that you earn points. It is, and just knowing about that you earn points for whatever that you think about. You come up to imagine, say, in your mind. It is. It's talk about it's like if you were to earn points. It is. Go ahead and color a little bit of that. Maybe a little bit more with green. It's like eye for an eye. It's like eye for an eye. And then from there, and then like knowing about if it was written on a chalkboard. It is written on a chalkboard. If I think about that, hey, it's like it's just on a chalkboard, huh? It's like no matter if I lose a point, I mean, well, what would the star look like if you lost a point, huh? More likely, it would look like more like this right here. It's like you got the cursors, and of course other than that, knowing about it's like not really about but knowing about that, that if you will wish for anything, then knowing about it's like about for a good education. But other than that, it's not knowing about the details I went ahead and put right here. It's like for the house, and then of course it's like with the moon right here, and then of course the design is like knowing about what the wish star is, and just knowing about the fact about that. The wish is knowing about that. Knowing about if everything goes well, and just knowing about that. It's like to know about the truth about the whole fact about really about what you can do. It's like knowing about the truth about it's like, hey, we all know that it's like whenever you lie on a report, or say it's like if you were to cheat on a report, I used to usually always think if I would say at least cheat once, it would maybe be say maybe on a math test or say on a spelling test it was. And people probably think about that, hey, if you cheat, then more likely you're going to get in more trouble because you're not only going to be able to maybe have to write them 5 times, but maybe 10 times and maybe 15 times until you get it right. And I can remember that one of those questions I talk about is caution. And for the meeting, it's like be on a lookout. Be on the lookout, just knowing about it's like knowing about, it's like the type of road sign right here. It's like knowing about, it's like what you say that the Teculico Dama ring is like that you see in the sky. It is, so far as like what you call it, it's for a wish star. But other than that, talking about the number of points and knowing about it, it's like for so far as number 2, it's like for wish star points, it's like number 2 is like color activity.